Ladies and gentlemen, if I may have your attention for a very important piece of information. I believe that we're all here either as investors, business people, or interested in some form of business or the other. Now, during the coffee break, we noticed that some of you left a few valuables behind. We would like to just use this as a word of caution that if you leave those things behind, others may feel it's an answer to their prayers. And so, would advise that if you have to leave at any point, if it's for a coffee break, a bathroom break, whatever it is, if you have anything that you find valuable or you consider valuable, please just take it along. It includes mobile phones, handbags, tablets, wives and husbands maybe. You never know whose prayer is what. So kindly ensure that you have your valuables very close to you. He easily ranks as the most important minister, not because it's him as a person, but primarily because of the portfolio he holds. At the end of the day, the bottom line is the most important. If our investment doesn't go in the direction that we want it to go, I'm sure that he's one of the first people who would accuse. And so we'll take his presentation. We'll do a Q&A session with him after his presentation, and then we'll take other presentations as well. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Finance Minister of the Republic of Ghana, I present Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, joining us now.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here. The MC of this occasion, Chairman Kwame, sort of lived on the military campus with my wife when they were growing up. These were army brats, they called them. But so he knows a few things that we can't share here. Your Majesty Otumfuo Tutu, represented by Nana Bantamahini. We thank you. Colleague ministers, Nananum, members of the diplomatic corps, business leaders, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed deeply honored to be here with you today, and I truly thank the organizers of this important forum and the leadership of Fidelity, Mr. Ediefa. I keep meeting my colleagues from Achimota who are leaders elsewhere, so thank you for all of that. Fidelity was also very significant in our bond work a few months ago. But I thank you for this being held under the auspices of His Majesty the Asantehene. It is always a pleasure to engage captains of industry, executives of major corporations, as well as private investors and our various envoys who bring in their corporate companies from their countries and help cascade the much needed FDI that we require to grow. As a member of government, I am particularly delighted to attend forums such as these because it tells of our collective passion to move the country forward and also gives me the opportunity to hear unbiased feedback on the policies of government. We are a center-right party, and therefore our DNA is to support the private sector. And we are very, very clear on this. And this constitutes for us a number of factors for success. First, the quality of our human capital, which we are doing quite a bit of. A robust financial infrastructure, which we tackled as the Deputy Governor mentioned. And then really to unfurl the entrepreneurial spirit of our people. I had to ask this morning my 12th grade son, as I was on the phone, that, what are the factors of production? He has his exams next week, and he told me, labor, capital, and land, and so at least we are getting results for what we are paying for. So I put it in the speech. But truly, those are key issues for us. Where do we place our people? How do we get them in readiness for the future? How do we change the chassis, which is really the capital that is required? And how do we unfurl the spirit of entrepreneurship for that? Land, we have plenty if we solve the transfer problems. But may I once again, like others, congratulate Otumfuo Osei Tutu II on the 20th anniversary of his ascension to the Golden Stool. We, as a nation, are especially grateful to him for his leadership and resolution of the Dabong crisis, Ayiko and Aseda. So His Majesty the Asante desires to revitalize Asante Mine through his development programs and his social projects, such as the Otumfuo Education Fund, to reinforce his determination to wage war against ignorance, disease, and poverty. And more significantly, to create wealth for Asante Mine. And we believe in this as a government. This is in line with our vision as a government for a Ghana beyond aid, a revitalized Ghana that is self-confident and in charge of her economic destiny, a transformed Ghana that is prosperous enough to be beyond needing aid and engages competitively with the rest of the world through trade and investment. This is also the spirit of Asante Mine and is the spirit of what President Akufo-Addo's vision for Ghana is. Ladies and gentlemen, the World Bank uses a GDP per capita of some $4,000 and change as a proxy for an upper middle income country. We are at about $2,000, so we need to double to get there. But other characteristics usually offered for the state of development include the following: a working age population brimming of ideas, creativity, and skills who outnumber the dependents. Currently, 0 to 24 of our profile is about 56%, and to 35 is about 73%. Youthful population indeed, and we need to make them fit for purpose for the future. We also need a high access to first-class health and education facilities, decent work in the urban and rural communities, clean and affordable water and housing, improved life expectancy, mortality, and morbidity rates, improved drainage and proper disposal of waste, and improved mobility, and improved transportation and related communication infrastructure. The defining character of this category of nations is the significant and sustained progressive changes in the levels of poverty, jobs, and inequality. How do we decrease our Gini coefficient so that as we prosper, we move the stream up? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the vision of His Excellency President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. To fulfill this vision, he launched the Ghana Beyond Aid Charter 3 days ago on 1st May to the teeming Ghanaian workers looking at him expectantly. Our goal as a government is more ambitious than economic stability. It is economic transformation. It is changing the structure of the economy, improving public services to facilitate business and reduce the current drudgery of accessing public services. In the next 5 years, we want a markedly different country. One where the student enrollment in primary and secondary education is above 80%. One where our precious mothers throughout the country do not die because of childbirth. A country where the produce of our hardworking farmers are processed domestically. A country where our people are able to live in decent housing. A country where every formally employed person has access to a mortgage instrument. A country where there's an option to travel to Kumasi by rail within an hour and a half. A country where death from floods is a thing of the past. A country where business have access to cheap, long-term capital and reliable power. A country of entrepreneurs, and a country where public services are increasingly automated to reduce the incidence and the scourge of corruption and improve efficiency. This is the future we seek. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo inherited an economy that did not provide the necessary foundation for the ambitious transformation that we sought. Enormous effort and resources have been expended to stabilize the economy, and once again, the Ghanaian economy is showing enviable indices. Economic growth rates have rebounded from 3.7% to projected 6.8%. The IMF believes that it will be the fastest growing country in the world at 8.8% this year. Don't know how they got their figures, but we are very happy about that. Public debt as a percentage of GDP has declined from 73% old rates to 57.9% as of December 2018. Fiscal deficit has also improved from 9.6% to 3.9% of GDP. 2018 interest rate and inflation trends have all trended, in the right direction, 15.4 to 9.4 inflation, and as the governor said, the monetary policy rate is now at 16%, an incredible reduction over this period. So we are here, but I think the real work now begins. The foundation has been built, and how do we go forward? Our expectation is that the Ghana Beyond Aid would give us a pathway to create this great society that the President envisions. Indeed, we have successfully completed the IMF program, and we gained the confidence of the international markets, as seen in our recent Eurobond issuance, which Mr. Grant talked about. We went out for $3 billion, and we had $21 billion chasing what we have. It was the highest order book in sub-Saharan Africa's history. It was also the first time that a country in Africa has gone out for a three-tranche listing of 7, 12, and 31 years. And we also aimed the enviable record of the 3 Ls, which was the largest issuance, the longest tenor of 31 years, and the lowest rates that we could have envisioned. And thank God for that. And it was an incredible week, the week of March 30th, because as a moderate chairman will tell you, the CD was doing a salsa that we couldn't control, and we were going out to the market to raise money, and the board of the IMF was also meeting to look at how we're going to exit the program. And in that space of 48 hours, the CD stabilized, We exited the IMF well, and we issued our bonds to great reception. So it's a week we will always remember, and we thank God for that. I think when major issues like that happen, you can only say that it's divine intervention and it's not us. Because if we really look at where we were in January 2017 and where we are today, it's just a torrid change in our circumstances. There's a lot more to go, but we need to recognize that really for a country to move through this in 30 months, it's something that we need to thank the good people of Ghana for their patience and thank the Almighty God for our leadership in the presidency and for bringing us that far. So, ladies and gentlemen, however, this stabilization and macroprudence alone is not a sufficient foundation. We must also safeguard the economic gains we make to ensure a sustainable growth and a Ghana beyond aid. To do this, we have to put in place a number of structural reforms to entrench this irreversibility of our forward march to a sustainable upper middle income economy. These include the passage of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which we did at the end of last year, empowering economic managers to maintain a fiscal deficit of not more than 5%, ensuring a positive primary balance to ensure that we keep reducing our debt. We also established the Fiscal Responsibility Advisory Council and the Financial Stability Advisory Council. And in addition to that, we also went to Parliament to sanction the Finance Minister in event of a breach for that. So everybody should be in here to sacrifice. The nation is bigger than all of us. So the passage of the PFM regulations would improve enforcement of the provisions outlined in the Public Financial Management Act, strengthening domestic revenue mobilization through initiatives such as the introduction of electronic point of sales devices, overhauling the current tax-exempt regime, and improving the efficiency of our ports. And the landmark agreement of a social partnership between labor, employers, and government in the management of our economy. Now, this is truly significant because with the exit of the IMF is the need to really get into a social partnership with the actors that matter to transform this economy. And the question then for us is, when you look at the Irish example and others, how do we all sit on the table and therefore sing to the same tune sheet? So we signed a social partnership with labor and employers, a secretariat to be formed, clarity on productivity elements would be enhanced, training of workers for the future will be encouraged and supported, and the whole idea of looking at these indices of growth so that it's inclusive and it's widespread. To unlock our potential as a country and sidestep the threats of a lower middle income trap, we are taking steps through a raft of measures to build, attract, and sustain investments and capital. These include, as you know, our landmark free senior high school program, developing industrial parks, implementing the 1D, 1F to empower businesses, planting for food and jobs to make sure that we decentralize the economy and we are able to stop importing food. Currently, we import about $2.4 billion of food, and that is criminal. We should be able to grow and eat what we grow and turn that and add value to it for West Africa. So we are determined through this to foster and also grow indigenous capital. Our support towards the recapitalization and restructuring of the financial sector, as well as support to our exporting community through the Exim Bank, is indicative of this vision, and we thank the U.S. government for their assistance in the Exim Bank. Under the innovative the Sino-Hydro facility, we also are tackling our infrastructure problems, and this is important to open up the economy for connectivity and mobility of both local and international markets. We are easing the cost of doing business with changes in business registration processes, tax administration, and a paperless customs procedure. The promulgation and amendment of business-friendly laws, such as the Companies Bill, which was passed last night around 10:30 p.m., corporate insolvency bills, payment systems and services bill, among others, are meant to afford certainty in the security of investments in Ghana, irrespective of nationality. All these actions reinforce government's role to create the enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. Coupled with resilient political system, Ghana is well positioned to be the pillar of stability of the continent. In the context of the Continental Free Trade Area, Africa's market will have a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion, making it one of the largest free trade zones in the world. Our preparedness, therefore, it's a big deal. We have, by 2050, Africa would be a quarter of the world's population and 40% of the youth. It is a market that you cannot ignore. And as they say, the arc of development would only succeed if Africa succeed. And so we encourage our business partners to begin to now look to Africa. And Ghana, I believe, is a destination that you should come to. I reiterate that our economic governance and macro-fiscal management stabilized the economy and contributed to the irreversibility of our gains to ensure a sustainable transformation. The number of measures that we have taken, the reforms, and the flagship programs demonstrate a commitment to safeguard our economic transformation and ensure that investments from the private sector are not only secure, but also thrive. As a people, we have the potential, industry, and human capital for a sustained Ghana beyond aid. And as Mr. Grant mentioned, how do we create a society in which there is wealth, everybody is included in that trajectory, there's sustainability in what we do to give investors comfort, and people are empowered. In the final analysis, how do you create a resilient society that all will participate in that? So, Mr. Chairman, in addition to this, it's our focus on Ghana becoming a regional hub. And the areas that we have targeted include financial services, aviation and logistics, petroleum services, religion with our national cathedral, education, peace as a peace-loving nation, and a place that investors will feel comfortable in the very long run. Mr. Chairman, we look forward to engaging with Asanteman going into the future. The kingdom offers a lot to the country. But let me just really emphasize that beyond the macro prudence and all that we have done, Ghana, for me, is a promised land. A nation with hope, a nation with a future, a nation of dynamism, a brimming youth, reinvigorated because we have trained them. The Black Star, Mr. Chairman, is rising and is shining again. Mr. Chairman, but going forward, it's not going to be easy. And it's going to take a change in the way in which we look at things. A strong sense of discipline, a clarity on whom we are as a people, a readiness to fly as an eagle. And as Mandela said, to really look forward towards the sun and to keep moving our legs. There's a lot to be done, but with the spirit of courage, with love for each other and self-discipline, Mr. Chairman, I believe that the Black Star will be back to where it ought to be. We thank you and we thank God for all of this.
Thank you very much, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned earlier before the Finance Minister, just for those of you who were not seated yet, that if for some reason you have to step out, please remember to keep your belongings or your valuables very close to you. Are you stepping out? Do you have your valuables close to you? And these valuables could range from mobile phones to tablets to iPads to husbands and wives. It could be somebody may perceive it as an answer to their prayer. So please don't leave these things around. I'm saying this because I've just been informed that during coffee break we found 2 mobile phones. They were somewhere in this room. One of them is a Techno phone, the other is a Samsung. I'm not too sure how we'll be able to find the owners, but if you've lost, misplaced a Techno phone or a Samsung phone and you can identify it, I'm sure we'll be very happy to let you have your thing back. The Finance Minister has spoken, and I'm sure that there may be some questions that some people may want to ask. I'd like to spend the next maybe 10 minutes or so to field any questions that may be plaguing any of us and directed at the Finance Minister, after which we'll have a very quick experience from somebody who's an expatriate who's invested in Ghana. And then also we'll have another one, a presentation by Ambassador Professor Tal Edgars on Ghana as an attractive investment destination in Africa. And then the KMA would give us a very quick 10-minute presentation, after which we'll have lunch, and then we'll move into the breakout sessions. We have done a little assessment, and we seriously suspect that after lunch and the breakout sessions, that will be it. Because we're looking for all kinds of tricks to bring you back into this room after lunch and breakout session. So far, none of them has worked. I don't know if we have to bring you kicking and screaming back. But I'll confer with Mr. Edward Ifa, and we'll take a look at what we do afterwards. So our Finance Minister takes a seat. You may want to call it the hot seat, if you like. We'll give him a microphone. And if there are any questions anybody would like to ask, please let's do it snappy. Let's spend the next 10 minutes or so asking those questions, and I'm sure he'll be willing to provide answers. So if you want us to bring your microphone, just show by hand. Yes, sir, in the corner. Echo, we need the microphones in here right now, please. There's a hand up over there. Quickly, over there. The gentleman in the red tie, white shirt.
Okay, good. First of all, thank you for presenting such a nice event today. It was very informative. and we really appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Michael Karate. I live in Shanghai, and my question deals with the Brixton Road. And just wondering whether or not Ghana plans to become a member of the Brixton Road organization.
Mr. Minister?
Actually, there was a conference last week, I think, and we had our Minister of Trade and Minister of Railways there for that. So we are examining, participation in that. We even joined the Asia Infrastructure Bank, as a member now. So, we are looking to Asia for that. Also, for the first time, actually, we had incredible participation from Asia fund managers in the bond flotation because we took a non-deal roadshow to Asia last year.
So as we say in Ghana, it's in the pipeline. Plans are far advanced.
Very much so.
Any other questions, comments, observations, please? Yes, there's a gentleman in front of you with a hand up.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Finance. Your speech is very good.
Thank you.
But underpinning your whole agenda is your last paragraph. How can you, as a minister, with all these resources, ensure that through the fabric of our society, those ideals are inculcated, built up to make us a disciplined, loving, and achieve the aim?
Thank you very much. That's truly profound. And that really is our Achilles heel. The issue of creating a narrative which moves us beyond what we can do in government. And this is where people like Chairman Kwame come in. How do we begin? And I think really, the launch of the Ghana Beyond Aid document, a huge issue has to do with attitude and who we are as a people. Where is the citizen and where is the republic? And how do we change our sociology to be more responsive to the republic than to the citizen? And that really is, I think, the biggest fight that we have as a people. Because clearly within 30 months, we could transform the economy to a certain degree. So the capacity to work and put the team in place is there. Now the capacity to have everybody join in and to participate, to not drop that piece of paper, to be your brother's keeper, is what. And I think in building this whole concept of the social partnership of labor, it's then beginning to say, look, I am government and I'm supposed to bring revenue, but you are labor and you happen to be the people working at the ports. So how do you then ask me to increase your salary when you are not ensuring that the revenues come in? So that disconnect, is taken away, and then we have a mutual interest in fighting the scourge. So it is those steps that we have to make, and how we get the media and all of us to get into a certain narrative to appreciate that each individual citizen's role is what creates this great country that we want to go to. But that's profound. Thank you for that.
Any other questions, please? As they say, do it now or forever hold your peace. If there are questions, comments, observations, a quick one-liner here, anecdote, something you'd like to add? Yes.
Chairman, I'm just putting in an input so that we can accelerate growth that needed to change the face of doing business in Ghana. Over the years, Ghana has been an import-based economy. And I think time has come for us to change that to that of export. about 70% of containers that comes into this country goes back empty. And it seems we are focusing on importation more than how we can rake in revenue from other countries. And Finance Minister here, I would like to put across these 5 points. I'm not going to elaborate on them, but because of time constraints, at appropriate time, I would like to have another platform where I can elaborate on them. The duties on raw materials to add value is very, very expensive. And I'm suggesting to you that we scrap it so that a lot of companies can come in, because not all the raw materials are found in Ghana here. But some of them that are coming to complement what we have, the duties charged on them is too much. And it is not selling Ghana as a haven for investment. Second, public sector response to the private sector is not the best. And the bureaucracy and a lot of frustrations people go through to invest in Ghana is also not helping us. Again, empowering the private sector has been a lot. Previous government has paid lip service to this, but the action is still found wanting. What I mean by this is that you see the government going for investors, but we, the local entities, we are not being branded very well. The things that we need to be able to to attract investors or assimilate investors, you are not helping us to do it. You are always looking out there to bring in foreign investors. But the world now is globalization, and it is partnership. We, the private sector, has to bring in the partners and not the government. I see the government interfering instead of empowering the private sector. Thank you.
Well, please go and make the money and bring and empower the local man. But don't charge taxes.
It's Chairman, is an interesting situation. So we are in a cocoa season, a cocoa region, for example. So let's say the cocoa farmer gives this country some $2 to $3 billion a year. And we do our best to underpay the cocoa farmer. But he gives us $3 billion a year. So then a number of traders take this foreign exchange and bring in goods. And then they say, I shouldn't charge them duties. And then they won't also pay corporate taxes. And then they also want me to hedge their foreign exchange exposure. So you ask yourself, where is the social justice? The person who delivered the foreign exchange is not part of my policy orientation. The people who spent my foreign exchange now become the drivers of my policy, and Chairman them, we're born abaso are fine. And so we as a nation now we should begin to ask ourselves, why should I import toothpicks? Why should I import $1.4 billion of rice? Why should I import $400 million, So is it time then to say, okay, we are going to cut down food imports, that by year 2 or 3, it comes down to a certain level, and how do we reduce access to foreign exchange for those particular goods? So, but those are issues which also means that we should complement with production.
Local production.
Now, how quickly can we do that? And are we prepared as a country to sacrifice during a certain period because we have a vision of where we want to net out food imports in our country? Or that we will continue to pay a bit of a higher price because the issue of local production and employment and building industry is important. What is the period of sacrifice that we can subsist on to do that? So those become really overarching questions. And the person who imports will then say, well, what are you going to do for me? And I should be able to have long-term capital, so I turn all these Kwewu traders into manufacturers of bolts, etc., because they've shown their ingenuity to be able to do everything else. So there has to be, and that is the reason for this social partnership, where we can really challenge ourselves as to what we need to do to move to this Ghana Beyond Aid in a way in which you have an environment of security and peace to be able to do that. So, Odike, thanks for that question. But it leads to the beginning of a dialogue and a narrative as to what government can do and what workers and employers, should team up to do. So I think the hard work truly now begins going forward.
Thank you, Finance Minister.
Well, the issue of public sector, we have to intervene with technology, so that truly, payments and responses are very different from what we are experiencing right now. Odike, there has to be a balance between GIPCs and co trying to crowd in investment, and also setting the agenda and framework and branding of Ghana so that it makes it easier for you to be able to also partner with others to go forward. So, thank you.
And for the foreigners here, Odike is running for president again soon. And so you probably should take a very close look at him. He may pull a surprise, you never know. Somebody's saying his own party has disowned him. But if the comedian in Ukraine could become president, you never know what will happen. President Odike in the making.
Yeah, at least it's giving me one important index.
Yes.
The 70% containers going back. I need to change that to maybe 20% filling them. So that's
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take maybe one more question and then we'll have the finance minister. Yes, one question from there. Okay, I see one hand up over there, so I'll take just two. One from here, one from the other end, and then we are done.
Mine is a contribution. And yesterday, I'm not sure all of us here were at the dinner. And Ken did made a statement, and he said, the government's policy on the Ghana Beyond Aid is a very positive and a bold attempt. And for him, that is how the 20 years we did of deepening our cultural heritage through socio-economic development. That is how he has impacted. So going forward, he has initiated policies with Ghana Export-Import Bank. And among those is as a way to reduce our jute importation, for which we've started KENAF production. Also on the processing, he has a very large mango factory where we want to process citrus fruits. And like the original minister did mention on the Swami magazine, that is also an intention to get them into a hub and the kente weaving industry. So we still want to let some of us here who were not part of yesterday to still let you know that there are still other serious ventures that when you come to Kumasi and Ashanti, the Ken is prepared to open up to you and the doors are open. Ghana Export-Import has started and we are waiting for all others who are online and want to contribute.
Thank you. We'll take one more from there and that's it. There was a hand up? Okay, the hand is gone down. The lady's here, thankfully. Oh, you would speak to? Is your hand up, please? Okay, and your hand is up too. Okay, all men silent, the women are here. Take over, it's your world.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to congratulate those who organized this. I think it's splendid and it's well-timed. My name is Sika Chum. I'm an executive coach, a Gestalt practitioner, and a corporate trainer, and I'm passionate about education. I would like to make a contribution, and my contribution has to do with the human capital. And I think that what makes investors attracted to a country is the human capital, and what the country has invested into the human capital. You look at the attitudes of the people, you look at the work ethics of the people, you look at the mindset of the people, and if it's good, then you would want to invest. So my contribution is that government should look at ways in which we can invest in our human capital and change the mindset of our people, so that when investors come in, customer service is good, the work ethics is good, and then you know that you are putting your money into something that is valuable. So that is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Reminds me of the saying that brains develop a nation, not natural resources. Please, no more men. There's another woman here. Forgive me. Let me finish with the lady, and then I'll come to you for the very final comment. When women want to take charge, you don't allow them to bully their way through.
Thank you for the gender balance.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jane Reindorf Atto. I am the Managing Director for World Trade Center Accra. World Trade Center Accra is a private trade organization. We're connected to World Trade Center in New York, as well as about 320 World Trade Centers in nearly 100 different countries. And my contribution is that we often engage with our members. And one of the themes that we hear from our members quite often is, number one, business is tough in the current environment. We also hear that business in Ghana is too political. Now, World Trade Center is an apolitical organization. I commend this investment forum. I commend the Ghana Beyond Aid initiative of the government. However, I urge the government to, if there's any way that private sector can be protected. For example, we have members that have contracts or business deals, and the perception is that if you're perceived to be aligned to one party, when the other party comes in power, the deals dry up. And so that's the feedback that we've received from our members, and I wanted to make that contribution today. In order for us to truly move beyond aid, private sector has to be protected. In other parts of the world, I'm sure you hear my accent, I was in the States for many years, it's the private sector that really runs the country, in a sense, that drives business, that engages the government and lobbies the government to take certain decisions. And insulating the private sector, in a sense, I think works well in other parts of the world. And it's not just in private sector, but also within the government. There's a lot of good initiatives coming out of this government. And I look forward, and we look forward to seeing it continue for many, many years. And so once we learn to do what's good for the country and to focus on private sector and driving business, and less so the politics, I think will be better for us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take the man whom I shut down, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll take yours, whether it's a question or contribution. We'll come to the finance minister, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, Kwame. I'm Nana Bibi Watson, CEO of Crystal Money Consult Limited.
Nana Bibiba.
Yes, something is coming.
Nana Memra.
I would like to suggest something to the minister, and I wish he could take note of that. We have a lot of foreign businesses in Ghana which are not registered under GIPC because their stated capital are not up to the base benchmark, which is $1 million or so. So what I think is that because of their stated capital is not up to that, they are not been able to register. So I wish the minister, you could register all of these foreign small-scale enterprises or companies under one umbrella, so that at least if they can be able to pay or contribute $100 a month, and you have 1,000 or 2,000 these companies, I think the country will also benefit from them. Well, that is what they've been doing in China. I have a company there, which I pay $120 because it's a medium-scale company. So that government doesn't care how much you earn or what is the capital that you are bringing in. The government cares that every month at least you contribute $120 for the coffers of the government. So I think, Minister, take note of that, and then you do something about it. Thank you very much.
Now, this minister likes taxes, so you've given him ideas. Mr. Minister, your final comments. Now you have a new place to go and make money.
Thank you. But I think, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If you look at the number of taxes that we abolished, it's very difficult for you to say that.
You don't like taxes?
This is not evidence-based, what you are saying.
I'll provide further and better particulars.
There we go. No, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think the issue really of education is one that is, sort of non-compromisable. It's a social justice, and you can see the amount of resources we are putting in free senior high school. The question now is to make sure that the quality is what we need, and we get into the framework of a service-oriented country and change the attitudes and mindsets. And maybe that's a curriculum change that is required. But true, the future of work really is dictating now being able to educate people who know how to learn, because things are going to be changing so fast that your capacity to relearn is going to make the difference, and we have to retool for that with skills. On the issue of the lady who works at the World Trade Center, I think true. Sometimes when I look at the issues that we discuss on the political front, I think there's just, we don't have consensus on too many things. And you go to a country like Norway, and there's consensus on about 80% of it. So that really is 20% margins that we are dealing with. And we need to move in this democracy to get to that level. But I think, we also should be very clear on what the country has achieved these 30 months. So if we get into the continual criticism, we could use, a penny to block out the sun because we are just looking at it from a certain angle. We have to acknowledge, with no apologies, as to where the macro numbers are and how it makes it easier for you to be a much prouder Ghanaian than you have been in a while. Certainly, there are certain things in the kitchen that we must solve, but let's not get into, a pitch which then really demobilize us to be able to come together as a country to move forward. And I think that's really important, acknowledging the progress we have made and knowing the things that we have to do. But if you allow the no money in my pocket syndrome to be the only thing you talk about, you're going to derail the journey that we are going to go on, because it's a very long journey. Mr. Chairman, thank you for that. I always have to pay for my lunch. I don't know why. Most people don't. But thank you for this opportunity, and we really appreciate this.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Finance Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Kendo Foriata, as well, for spending time with us. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, there's a gentleman who is simply commonly referred to as Mike. And he's invested in this country for some years now. An avid businessman, entrepreneur, spirited person who has ensured that working and investing in Ghana has been worth his while. More than 25 years in the steel industry in the African business landscape. In the year 2002, he founded a company called B5 Plus Limited, and would like for him to share a few comments with us on his experience as an expatriate company investing in Ghana. Well, everybody calls him Mike, but his real name is Mukesh Takwani, the Chief Executive Officer of B5 Steel Plus Steel Industry in Tema. Please, shall we welcome him to share his thoughts with us?
Good afternoon, everyone. I will make sure that I will not come in between your lunch and myself. I'll try to keep my speech short. Can I request to play the video, please?
Has become the leader in the steel manufacturing and import in all of West Africa is not only unbelievably impressive for the world, but also a memorable one for Ghana.
B5 Plus is successful. I think we are a passionate driven company. We believe in delivering the quality material at the doorstep with giving the best services possible.
With the European awards that we have won, we are making Ghana stand stronger on the world map, and we consider these awards as milestones to achieve the B5's vision to become the steel industry benchmark for the world.
The small countries from where we used to import from our dear neighbors to other countries in West Africa, today we have become a net exporter to all these West African countries.
If you see a small building, more than 5 floors, 2 floors, even 1 floor, I'm sure you are definitely going to get a B5 steel there.
Bonds that are strong are not formed over a short period of time. They are the ones that are made when strong-willed people come together to form even stronger relationships over a longer time. In our memorable journey, we have forged several strong relationships that have stayed intact for a long time.
At B5 Plus, we believe in solving problems. So anytime that we have a problem with our machine, we solve it together as a team.
In the year 2011, there was difficulty in producing the required quantities of iron rod. So we started doing an audit of electricity. We replaced some of the motors which are drawing more power.
Also, we replaced some lamps from mercury to the LED lamps. By doing this, we have reduced the cost of our product.
B5 Plus believe in delivering the best to the market, and it is not possible without the help of our dear employees. B5 Plus believe in education. We give a free education to a lot of our employees' children. We believe in that everyone brings an additional value to the organization in their own ways.
B5 Plus is a partner in my life because it really helped me to achieve a lot as I have come into terms with them. In a way of, I came as one profession, but now I'm able to acquire another line of work to my as a welding fabricator.
B5 Plus gives us bus for transportation. It has a good environment area. At the end of the year too, they give us good bonus.
I joined B5 2003. First, I worked as a factory hand worker. I worked with the wire drawing department, nail section department. Later, I moved to iron rods department. Now I become a mechanic.
The strong commitment of the people of B5 is what helps us make the strongest steel product of Ghana. Our team is full of driven and passionate people like Mr. Gilbert.
When I came to B5, my time management was a bit poor. Working with B5 has made my time management very, very, very good. B5 is successful because they are very efficient. Their cost management too is very, very good. In the port, we have importers who bring goods to the port and they leave their goods idle for a certain time and they have to pay demurrages and extra costs. But B5 makes sure that their documents are on time and you are able to clear within the stipulated time. So there are no further costs at all.
B5 has a very strong team who are internally very much trained. They know in and out where they can fix it. We don't need really an external person to come and fix the things. We are strong enough to do whatever the job given at any point of time.
B5 Plus is not a company. We are a family strongly tied together. It is a place where each one who works here is considered one of our own. We started with one small rolling mill, but this strong desire to succeed is what has made us the European Award for Quality and Excellent Services holder in Ghana.
Every member of our employee is a part of our family, and we are open to them. We don't have any barriers. As such, any level of employee can come and directly talk to the top level management.
The management, or let's say my supervisors, they are nice to me. If I didn't understand something and I ask them, they take their time and explain and show me.
People like B5 management because all the management behaves as if they are the family members rather than a boss. We don't have to wait for somebody to give us a permission to do a job. We are open-minded here. Everybody walks into everybody's door, can do their work without even any hesitation.
The reason why several construction companies believe in our services and have kept strong relationships with us over the years is only because of our quality and security of supply. This is primarily the reason why we have won the award for Best Enterprise in the Field of Steel Industry Award by the Socrates Committee, UK 2014.
B5 does not believe in growing itself. What we believe is growing Ghana as well. Whenever a small trader or a small businessman who wants to start up a business, he comes to us and we guide them properly how to do a business. We can say that we are creating businessmen here in Ghana. We provide them the facility of the finance. We are financing people so they can improve their own business. We don't believe in just selling. We believe in building the relationships. We do the research deeply that is the contractor, is the customer, is going to be a good contractor or a worst.
Like I was just going for my rounds, and one of the driver, he approached to me. He said that when small customers, they are coming to buy from us, they are finding it difficult, which struck to me that yes, this is very important, and we always say that we are a customer-centric organization. Immediately the same day we took the decision that we want to create some outlet where small customers who wants to buy in a small number of PCs or something, they can just come and buy it so that they will save their time. And that is how our customer care has been open.
But B5 is able to produce iron rods in a smaller dimension that suits the local market. Then with these two plates, we are able to produce plates to suit the local market as well. They produce wire mesh at the same time. The nails too, they are very, very strong, and they are in different dimensions that suits each and every occasion.
Nobody keeps the stocks which B5 keeps right now. We have the cars, we have the stocks from the small sizes to big sizes. Whatever you want, we have. That's why we kept the name One-Stop Shop for Steel.
B5 Steel is a global steel giant in the making with services in 15 countries and market leader in all of West Africa. We are this strong only because we are a home to passionate, driven, talented and hardworking persons. Our people have the grit and determination to conquer obstacles and bring about a revolution in the steel industry.
We are strong because of our innovative approach. We are strong because of our values, our strong relationships, and our strong people. We are B5 Plus Steel.
B5 Plus, be strong.
B5 Plus.
Be strong.
B5 Plus.
Be strong.
B5 Plus, be strong.
Thank you very much.
BPSI is the worldwide franchisee, which headquarters is in India. They have more than 167 schools worldwide, from schools in India to
just a
Middle
glimpse
East,
of the school
to
also
Singapore.
which we have. That is of
now
our,
Ghana
we are the
is also one
promoters
part
of
it.
BPSI International School. Just to tell you in a
academics
brief,
straight away by the rote
that
method. Whatever is
within
in
this
the
20
textbook, I
years,
read out
the
lines
B5
and
Plus
straight away explain.
didn't only
It's a
become
boring
the
thing.
market leader in Ghana, but we are very proud to say that we have become a market leader into the West Africa, and we have become the biggest stockist of steel
Wherever
in
activities
whole
can be
Africa.
made, maybe in the form
And
of
today,
role play,
we are very
if it's
proud to
science,
say
it's
that we are
still easier.
employing
Get the
directly,
experiment done by
indirectly
the
creating
children.
the jobs for more than 10,000 Ghanaians. Today, we are exporting to all the West African countries, and under the current government 1D1F policy, we are coming up with one of the biggest steel plants of West Africa, which will be starting this year, which our finance minister will be very happy to hear that B5 Plus is going to save $100 million each year into the Forex. We are going to get raw material from right here in Ghana. B5 Plus has always believed in Made in Ghana dream come true, and I think we are here for good to make sure that we will keep on curating Made in Ghana goods more and more possible, so that I think our biggest challenge here in our Ghana is about foreign currency. I think some of our dear friends, they highly spoke about it. I think this is the best way. I think we have ample of opportunities into the different directions. So we will also request to the government to make sure that electricity, water, and security is well provided to the new sites wherever we are going, so that we can really develop more and more industries such as, and create more jobs. B5 Plus also believes in giving back to the society. Today, B5 Plus, you saw just a glimpse of the school, the international school. We are the promoter of that school. Today, we are having 28 nationalities of school there, the children coming there, and the Ghanaians being the #1. We have won many national and international awards. Even in B5 Plus, we have won many national and international awards for our CSR responsibility. We are very happy to see the GIPC personals here. We have won the CSR Company of the Year. We are the members of the Club 100. We have won the Quality and Services Award, many more. So I think it is all possible because of our Ghanaian environment here. We give the credit back to our Ghanaian society, our workers. The moment you land at the Ghana airport, you see the smiling face and you know that you are in Ghana. So I think we owe that one to the Ghana. Let's give them a big round of applause for our Ghanaian brothers. So on this opportunity, I would like to say, Chairman, thank you very much for making us part of this program. We believed in Ghana, we believed in Made in Ghana, and I will request my other friends here who are there, please come and invest into the industry. You will never go wrong. Thank you very much.
Maybe I should find out why everybody calls him Mike. That will be off air. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, those of us who were at dinner last night in the presence of His Majesty the Otumfuo noticed that we had a speaker, Ambassador Professor Tal Edgars. And he'll just share a few minutes with us this afternoon. And Tal will speak on Ghana as an attractive investment destination in Africa. After he's done, the KMA will give us a very brief video evidence of what they have and how they perceive Kumasi to be in the next few years. And then we'll break for lunch. Now, we've come to the firm conclusion that if we ask that we reassemble after lunch, we probably will get a sprinkling of those we have here. So we agree that after lunch, we'll go into the breakout sessions. The appropriate doors will be tagged same, and members of Eon 3 will be on hand to guide you as to whichever area that may interest you, after which I'm sure we can stretch, unwind, and enjoy the rest of Kumasi. But before that, please welcome Tal Edgars. Don't worry, after him is lunch. Shall we welcome him, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, cordially represented, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I won't bore you with pointers from what the other speakers have said. I bow to superior knowledge. However, I've been asked the question as to why I was told to speak on Ghana as an attractive investment destination in Africa, and my answer was simply because of globalization. And so, what is globalization? Some of you might want to ask me. Allow me to demonstrate this. Our most common-placed headlines seem to reek of globalization. Just take it 2 decades ago, about the tragic death of Princess Diana, an English princess with a Welsh title, leaves a French hotel with an Egyptian companion who has supplanted a Pakistani. They get into a German car with a Dutch engine that is driven by a Belgian chauffeur full of Scottish whiskey. They are then chased by Italian paparazzi on Japanese-built scooters and motorbikes into a Swiss-built Chan tunnel where they crash. Their rescue is briefly attempted by an American doctor using Brazilian medicine, and the whole story is told to you in Ghana by myself from South Africa. That is globalization, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in the information age in which we live today, it is often the side which has the better story, not the side with a bigger army which wins. So for the purposes of this particular speech, I will turn and convert this particular seating into a boardroom. Since I'm speaking to busy people, some of whom, of course, are geopolitical analysts, I have been privileged to listen to, and your patience is naturally limited because of lunch. You would want to know exactly what you can take away from listening to me. I thought I would make it worthwhile by just pointing out a few areas of concern. I know that I will be accused of being the votary of some sort of Africa world domination, rather like Pax Romana or Pax Britannica. Perish the thought. All I mean is Ghana will be the epitome in many ways of the kind of approach that will privilege the development of cooperative relations among its countries in an increasingly networked and multipolar world. Ghana remains one of the top 10 attractive destinations in Africa, with strong growth rates focused around the oil and gas sector, while the non-oil sector growth is supported by pro-business reforms. Ghana's Ministry of Finance predicted an economic growth of 7.6% this year. In April 2018, the IMF, of course, reduced this from an 8.9% estimated to a 6.3%. According to World Bank, the lack of efficient infrastructure shaves up to 2.6% of African average per capita growth rate and places a significant strain on human development. The African Development Bank's most recent estimation of infrastructure needs is between $130 billion and $170 billion annually. Ghana in 2011 became the fast-growing economy in the world, soaring to a north high of 14%, that year 8.2% excluding oil. Through growth slow-paced into 2011, Ghana has outperformed West Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa regional growth rates since. With better performance of the mining and retail sectors, following its peaceful elections, the country's GDP growth improved to 4.5% in 2016 from 3.5% in 2015. Underlying the rapid growth in the information and communication and the finance and insurance subsectors is mobile communications. On the back of increasing internet literacy and mobile finance, rising mobile data usage is propelling this particular sector. For over a decade now, Ghana has faced persistent twin deficits due to fiscal mismanagement. However, it is faced with the task of balancing between staying true to its ambitious manifesto commitments and implementing fiscal consolidation. Underscored by limited legal and security risks, Ghana provides a relatively more competitive operating environment compared to other key economies in the region. Ghana is actually located less than 10 hours by plane from Europe, South Africa, the US, the UAE, and holding two of West Africa's major seaports. Ghana is also well positioned geographically for trade in the region. Forming out of 110 airports in the world and 500 domestic airports, Ghana is part of the 23 members that has signed on to the AU Agenda 2063 Single African Air Transport Market, allowing it to trade with its partners. Over the past decade, economic policy reforms have seen barriers to trade and investment decrease in Ghana and yielded significant growth in trade and FDI inflows. Global investment climate assessments, such as the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business, indicates that Ghana moved up 3 places to rank 108 in 2016 from 111 in 2015 out of 190 countries. Ghana also ranked 111th out of 137 countries in the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index. As part of the British Enabling Environment Program, 18 in 2016, the number of formal firms registered by 1.5%, with 60,230 registered compared to 2015. Ghana has performed fairly well on Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index, where it ranked 56th out of 168 countries. Ghana as well boasts a number of advantages for manufacturers, including access to 300 million consumers in the ECOWAS market, competitive level costs, and a host of raw material inputs. Further pressing challenges for firms operating in the country include weak access to competitive financing, a bit of tax rates and corruption, intermittent foreign exchange withdrawal limits, and high inflation. Although there have been recent improvements, another major business environment concern, however not big, is the intermittent power shortages. Ghana has improved over the last few years from 64% in 2012 and is much higher than the sub-Saharan Africa average of 35%, which according to a 2015 GSS report, power outages saw the country lose an average of $2.2 million in output per day. While the government is working to further streamline the sector and increase installed capacity to improve efficiency and ensure supply, it is also looking for private partners to assist with securing funding and reforming a number of its core power projects and institutions. Complementing its advantageous geographical location, Ghana has had a number of trade policy reforms that are focused on improving the competitiveness of exporting companies, helping them to diversify their exports and penetrate new markets. As FDI continues to play an important role in Ghana's economic development, the government is placing an emphasis on public-private partnerships and multilateral and bilateral investment agreements for the development of key infrastructure and other projects. In regard to the same, as of July 2017, Ghana has signed the bilateral investment treaties with 27 countries in total, 19 of which are awaiting enforcement. In the first quarter of 2017, policies and programs such as One District, One Factory, Planting for Food and Jobs, the Accra Marine Drive, and tax reforms in the 2017 budget statement have bolstered investor confidence. Beyond the 2017 budget provisions, a number of incentives are provided under the GIPC and the Free Zones Act, the constitutional guarantee investment laws, which guarantee 100% transfer of profits and dividends, multilateral investment guarantee agencies, the MIGA membership, the BITs, and the DTAs. Ghana's tax code is replete with tax concessions that considerably reduce the effective tax rate for both foreign and local firms. Now, what does this mean in practice? Just purely looking at the demographic trends and the recent policies would merit a certain allowance of belief that for the next 10 to 20 years, Ghana could be, and one could argue should be, a productive, sustainable investment return economy at a time when the rest of the world is regressing. So far from geographical location, Ghana needs to give a compelling narrative to the world. However, in closing, my thought was this. We have all heard a couple of terms used quite widely during the period of the last 2 days, one of it being change and transformation. So I leave this room for you to argue by yourself. Are we looking for a Ghana that has changed its perception of the investment climate, or are we looking at a Ghana that has transformed its position of the investment climate? Now, I beg your indulgence in the 2 words. Change is what happens to a tadpole before it becomes a frog. It is still a frog. Transformation is what happens to a caterpillar when it turns into a butterfly. So are we a Ghana that is creating frog products for a butterfly market? Or are we a Ghana that has completely transformed the whole idea around the investment climate? So I will leave you while paraphrasing Victor Hugo, no power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come, and so has Ghana's.
Otumfuo's representative, our regional minister, dignitaries here present, I hereby present KMA2 consultant to do presentation on our behalf.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nane Kuyabeme. I'm an architect. I'm with my partner, Agnes. We're from Agnes. We've been working with KMA to reimagine what Kumasi could be as a revitalized city. a second viable city after Accra, ideally, after you open a business, the next natural thing to do would be to open a second one in Kumasi. We'll have a short video. More detail on that that will be shared during the breakout sessions. Apart from this, there are a few other projects we worked with KMA on in very prime locations. So for the investors here, I would encourage you to join us at the breakout sessions to view them. If you can just do a quick flip through of those projects as well.
It's a good way to end. We have more females at the end than at the beginning. We'll quickly run through. We've been working with the KMA to revitalize the city, basically to densify most zones of the city in such a way that you have an anchor commercial project which is then surrounded with housing because of the huge housing deficits we are experiencing throughout the country. And so basically, it's for us to have various zones, as I've already mentioned, and then we'll quickly run through. Each of the mixed-use anchor projects will have hospital mixed use, so that no building is single use. So that what happens basically nowadays is a dome in the night will go to sleep and nothing is happening. But if you have something that is active in the night, then the same place is generating income for whoever is going to invest in that project. If the gentleman will quick, there are multi-story car parks which will ease the congestion in Kumasi. Mixed-use buildings, this located in a dome, each of them, we've incorporated amusement activities as well, because a lot of people come to Kumasi maybe for funerals or any other things, and it would be good if maybe we came with our children. They can be busy spending money on Kumasi whilst we are doing our business as well. And so that's the thought that we've thought through in each of the projects. For as the wealthy people who want luxury homes, there's some that will be considered for them. There are also mixed income housing to cover every group of people. But the general idea is to densify the city so that we don't have one building on 5 acres, on 2 acres, and then the city ends up sprawling, and so we end up having traffic. I grew up in Kumasi, there was no traffic, but now there's a lot more traffic than there was before. And that's a way that we've been considering with the KMA to redevelop. Additionally, the convention center, in earlier discussions, they talked about not having conference facilities. We want to have the largest conference facility in Kumasi, in Africa actually, so that it becomes an anchor point. People could go to other places to have 1,000, 2,000 capacity, but if you end up having a 5,000 capacity and it's the only one in Africa, Kumasi then becomes a destination for people to come to. So that's something that we've designed as well. And all of these have cultural inferences that have come through with the design. So this is an image of a mixed-use facility. No, we don't just dream. So I just dream. Typically, in most countries, there's not just one city that is the main city. You have sister competing cities. So, say Washington has something that New York doesn't have, and New York has something that maybe California doesn't have. And yet each city has its own clear identity and character, and that's what we would want Kumasi to be, a little more competing, viable option. And so. So these are visions that we've had with the KMA in their plan for it, for Kumasi. And we've done in Accra quite a lot already, and so this is very possible. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. If there are any questions in the parallel submissions, we'll be available to answer.
Oh, shall we applaud the ladies, please? Ladies and gentlemen, earlier I mentioned that we had found 2 mobile phones. We've managed to locate the owner of one of them. We've done the cross-checking, and we've handed the phone over. The second one, we've had a little difficulty, and I hope the phone owner would forgive us for what I'm about to do, but I'm sure you'll be happy that we went into your phone records, because that's the only way we could find you. Please, if you have a name that says Agbanyavu, you must come from my father's hometown, which is mine too. So you've crossed all the way from somewhere, Jalukopa, through Taviopa, through Tanyigba, through Huti, Bandoho, Flao, Sogakopa, all the way to this place. And this is the only place you've lost your phone. Please, you see, they say that's why Igbe people, we don't lose our things by heart. Because we leave it there with the spirit. So somehow the spirit will bring it back. But the name, we tried to trace a name. We found Agbanyavu Frederick, or Frederick Agbanyavu. I believe you have a son called Eric. So if you would get in touch with us, we'll do the verification and be sure you are not who you say you are, you're who you say you are, and then we can hand over the phone to you. Inti epamucho aka phone back, phone me fanye he. Nana, me chrome phone yan phone. What da wa ho ma channel phone an kasa pejani mo. Me pass bia. O imagine how dey na me come baby. Me pass bia. But we found now 2 phones. Luckily in Yodi can ye hu nipa kro. Cross check on why the phone a man intino. Obi antimi be kasa we've taken somebody else's phone and given to the person. But the other phone. So Agbanyavu Frederick, we think you have a son called Eric. Forgive us, we had to go into your phone records. That's the only way. We couldn't do anything about it. Iti pacho. Abrante no jina hon. Pacho muhe ni ye. Nyo jina wepeja ninsano. Se chamu biya ba mun directing kwa ha. Na mimpese meda. But for Bantama, we want to say thank you for representing Otumfuo. We know it was very short notice, but we appreciate that you made time. Shall we acknowledge him, please? Because it was very, very short notice. And we thank you for even making the time at all, the RCP. To the organizers, to those of you who came out, we say thank you. As I mentioned, there's lunch. There's a breakout session. I, as the moderator, am suspicious of that session. Not because I don't love it, but I think people are tired. And then we know we are not coming back here afterwards. That one, I've overruled it. Because me, I'm But we would like to say thank you on behalf of our sponsors, on behalf of Eon 3, and most importantly, on behalf of His Majesty the Asantehene, who graciously allowed us to do this last night and today. We want to thank all of you for making time. And we pray that the networking will continue beyond today. And strike a good deal. Let somebody bring us a few $1 million. I'll be glad to come and be your moderator again. Enjoy Kumasi. Good afternoon and thank you. If you don't mind, hello. If you don't mind, we'll have Otumfuo's representative leave first, and then the rest of us can do so.